Hello, everyone, and welcome. I want to see if I can learn how to make clay figures in just 2 weeks, so let's get started. I'm going to be making Denji from Chainsaw Man, so to practice, I made a teeny tiny pochita. I started by sketching the pose I wanted to make and using that to make a wire and tinfoil base. Then I started covering everything in Sculpey so I didn't just have a weird Tin Man. I baked him once because I don't know what I'm doing yet, and that's what I've seen other people do, and then I added more clay. Then I made a base out of balsa wood and more foil in the shape of that disgusting eternity double. Denji broke his knee, so I panicked, made a little clay bandage, and then all was well. Then I covered the base in thin layers of clay until it looked like this nasty Franken lunch meat monstrosity. Off camera, I very messily attached Denji to the base, and he fell over in the oven. Now it's time to bulk him up and add some body definition, of which I spent way too much time on. I also attached these little cardboard supports for his chainsaws with hot glue and then covered those in a layer of clay as well. Making these look smooth was so much more difficult than I could have ever anticipated. Lumpy lump. In an effort to make him look a little bit less lumpy, I carefully shaved down his forearms and everywhere else there were lumps where there shouldn't be. I built up his head a little bit more and then added the final chainsaw to his head. Now it's time to make him look a little bit more like his head is actually a chainsaw and not like he has a popsicle stick in his forehead. Add these little vents where the eyes are supposed to go. Oh, just grab on. Struggle making a tiny mouth that most people are not going to see. And then add a bottom jaw. To make the clothes, I rubbed little bits of clay wherever the fabric would be creased and smoothed them out until I was happy with them. For the front and back of the shirt, I took sheets of clay and draped them onto his body. This adorable little shirt collar, and then got to work on the pants the same way that I made the shirt. Now it's time to make a tiny shoe with tiny details that definitely did not take me way too many hours to create and then distract myself with some tiny pants detailing so I don't have to think about how much time I spent on an inch of clay. And the next day, I repeated the whole shoe process again. And then I started tackling the base. You know, what I do not recommend is trying to sculpt tiny hands, especially when they are separated in half by a chainsaw. I spent 2 entire days trying to make these hands look like hands and be the correct size. In the end, I made 4 different sizes to match the first hand. When I finally managed to make a hand I was happy with, I cut it in half and stuck it on and then shaped it. I was pretty happy with how they turned out. This day was entirely devoted to making tiny chainsaw head details. final step of the chainsaw head is to add some handles. So what I'm going to try to do is take this strip and then cut the chainsaw teeth out and then stick it on. It took several tries to figure out how this was actually going to work, but I got there eventually in the end. Tiny nail scissors and this Cricut tool were my weapons of choice. It took me approximately 1.5 seasons of Hoarders to finish all these chainsaw teeth. I forgot a couple shirt details, so I added buttons, a pocket, and a tie. Almost forgot the belt and belt loops. Making the base was really fun because it didn't really have to look like anything except a blob of monster flesh. Now he's all finished and ready for baking. Everything's final. He looks good. Nothing's gonna go catastrophically wrong, right?
The top of his head got burnt a little bit and he's wobbly now, which I wasn't expecting. So I'm just gonna hold him until he cools down.
Turns out he was wobbly because his foot cracked somehow, so I shoved some super glue on a pin in there and then all was better. Then I could finally start painting the base colors. Shading is always super fun because everything really starts to come to life. To make the metal look more like metal, I painted on a black wash and then dabbed it off, and then added a thin layer of silver on top. Then I decided that it all wasn't gross enough, so I decided to add some guts that I baked on this cardboard contraption. I almost forgot to paint his arms. Then it was time to glue on those baked devil bits. And now he's all done except the final and most fun detail. It's time to make Denji look like he's actually fighting a devil. I didn't quite make the 2 weeks, but I was really close. I had such a fun time doing this project and learning how to build with clay. I'm definitely going to be making more clay figures in the future. So if you want to see more stuff like this, stick around. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!